Good evening, good evening, good evening. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday to one and to all. Happy Sunday, depending upon where you are on the globe. Again, please give yourselves a big round of applause for making it through and to yet another day. We are already in April, and this new administration is on a roll. Now, this story literally hits close to home. As you can see in the title, a Maryland judge orders the return of KILMAR GARCIA, who was deported to El Salvador by what has been called a mistake. The Trump administration has been given a deadline of April the 7th, 2025. Now, there is quite a bit to unpack with this story. Many people, and again, everyone, including myself, we all have our opinions and thoughts as it relates to many things. Up to, through, and after the election, one of the largest, one of the most important issues that the people wanted to see tackled was immigration. And I absolutely, I want to be clear, agree with anything that is illegal. This story here, though, is a bit different. And again, before I go any further, I implore you, especially with this one, to conduct thoroughly your own independent and meticulous research because, as I said, there is a lot to unpack. Now, many are saying that this deportation was illegal. And when it comes to matters with other countries, and we've seen this, especially those familiar with the Shanquella Robinson case that occurred in Mexico, there are many variables where sometimes the U.S. hands are tied. Now, a little bit of background. KILMAR GARCIA has been in the United States since he was 16 years old. He fled his country due to, again, according to reports, gang violence. He is married to a United States citizen and has a United States born 5-year-old. Now, I must point out that in 2019, Garcia was placed in a protected status. Keep that in mind, earmark that. However, during I'll just say bizarre stop and pull over, he was informed that his status had changed and he was deported in March along with allegedly 200 Venezuelan illegals to El Salvador. And the difficult part with this is he's in a facility that has been deemed as notorious, and his safety is hanging in the balance. According to stories, his wife has not heard from him since he's been deported. Now, this is where you have to do your research because there are so many different stories that are being put out. Allegedly, a unidentified informant stated that he was a part of MS-13. And for those of you that may not be familiar with MS-13, that has been a notorious gang, and those familiar with the DMV, especially in Maryland, especially in Prince George's County and Montgomery County, they have been extremely prevalent, many to include young women. And another label was placed upon him, which I'm not going to repeat. However, the judge on Friday, this past Friday, as a matter of fact, April the 4th, was not, I repeat, was not satisfied. And she she wasn't comfortable with the answers she was given, which prompted her to request, to order the return of Kilmar Garcia. Now, another difficult and odd piece to this very hard to unpack puzzle is Kilmar Garcia had no criminal record, even though it was stated that there was no evidence provided, none. Now, there was an argument and a reference to the Aliens Enemies Act, and that is what was referenced and also gave fire to Judge Paula Zenas, and hopefully I'm pronouncing her name correctly. My apologies. It never fails when I pull over to do a quick report that somebody will come and blast their music. So give me a moment, please. Okay, it's a little bit lower, so we shouldn't have any problems. So again, he was deported on March the 15th to what has been deemed a very notorious facility in El Salvador. And again, there have been reports of alleged gang involvement. Judge Paula Zenas wasn't comfortable with that because she did not have enough evidence to go forth and not act. So she ordered, and I repeat, ordered the return of Kilmar Garcia. Now, this is where it gets even more tricky. The government, and I repeat, the government acknowledged that they erred, that they did make administrative error. Now, I looked, and maybe it was something I overlooked, but upon my research, I never could determine, I could not ascertain what that administrative error was that prompted the deportation of KILMAR GARCIA. This has escalated. This has escalated because Judge Paula Zenas, out of the federal court in Greenbelt, Maryland, which is in Prince George's County, has given the Trump administration until 11:59 p.m. on April 7 to facilitate and effectuate the return of KILMAR GARCIA. However, the appeals court has argued, and Trump administration has argued, that a judge, and I repeat, that the judge does not have the authority to order such a facilitation, especially when it deals with a sovereign country. There are people that may have muddied the waters a bit because there have been rumblings, and the names Marco Rubio and Kristen Noam has come up where were speaking about an alleged agreement or perhaps contract. It's all a matter of semantics. Where there, as I said, were conversations, I'll just say that, with Salvadorian authorities in the United States to hold those that have been deported. And there have been talks, murmurings of $6 million. There has also been denials that such a contract, agreement, or conversation was ever held. The Court of Appeals, as of today, Saturday, April 5th, has given the attorneys for the deported man, KILMAR GARCIA, until tomorrow afternoon, which is Sunday, to respond. This this is going to set a precedent as it relates to any future deportations by accident, by administrative error, because again, when you're dealing with other countries, and I will say this, and you can do your research for yourself. It was said, well, since they are now in El Salvador, that's not our problem. There are some people, again, who have said this is what they have voted for. And again, I absolutely agree with anything that is illegal. But according to reports, KILMAR GARCIA was here and his status was legal. And the government admitted there was a mistake. So who does the onus lie on to resolve this matter? Because keep in mind, he is no longer on U.S. soil. And if he fled his country as a result of gang violence, and we all know, well, the majority of us know that news is universal. I'm sure the story is worldwide now. How do we know what his condition is in this notorious facility? It's actually deemed a terrorist facility. And again, the allegations placed upon him as being a member of the MS-13 gang, according to reports, the judge found no evidence of that. So there has been a back and forth with that. So the question now is, was Judge Paula Zenas correct? Or does she indeed hold the authority to order the return of Kilmar Garcia, who, again, the government admitted was mistakenly deported? Or will the appeals court state and affirm that she doesn't have the authority to issue such an order? Your thoughts and opinions of this ongoing story. There have been protests, and this is going to be huge when it comes to Maryland, because anyone who knows anything about Maryland, especially Hyattsville, especially Riverdale, especially Langley Park. Let's go to Georgia Avenue. Let's go to Lay Hill Road. There are many, many places, but those areas that I just mentioned, the population of the Hispanic family, it is and continues to grow exponentially. Again, your thoughts and opinions. You can Google your comments. Absolutely. I look forward to gauging and seeing how people feel. Just be respectful. And again, that does not mean you have to agree, state how you feel. Just be respectful. And again, do your research, because there may be something I missed. There may be something that I've overlooked. And again, what does this mean for those that could possibly find themselves in the same situation in the future? Will measures be put in place? Because again, one of the most important things with the story is the government admitted that they made an administrative error. But now that he's no longer here, it's appearing, and again, I cannot attest nor deny, but it's appearing that there may not be anything they can do. And that may hold true for the country of El Salvador. We just have to continue and keep a watch on what the attorneys for Kilmar Garcia will say tomorrow, which is Sunday. Everyone, please, 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 always, always, always be safe, be well, and you know the rest. Be healthier. Until next video. Bye bye for now.